You don't need to. I'm using
Okay.
I'm using the cover photo this
Hi.
time. I'm not in there.
Hold on a second. Now you are.
We're live on my Instagram.
Okay, let me get in here. Scooch.
You need to
Scoochy
get me in
scooch.
yours, and I need to get you in mine. We're acting like amateurs. We know how to do this, babe. Hi, YouTube. I'm over here.
Hold on a second.
Do you always do it vertically?
Yeah.
Then why are we not in the frame this time?
You are in the frame. We just got to get settled.
Go.
We were leaning forward. I was getting it set up. Have faith, woman.
This must be so exciting to people when they first join the live. Later
When they watch the replay.
Oh, let's just for 5 minutes watch them figure out how to set up the camera every single week.
It's part of our charm.
Real life.
Allie,
fam.
what's up, Allie?
It's real life over here.
Oh my gosh. Huckleberry joined us.
Allie's on. Good to see you. Well, you're seeing us, I guess. We're
seeing your name. Okay.
Okay.
We're gonna have fun talk today. I gotta get my notes. You got notes. I got notes.
I sent you my notes because my phone is there.
I thought of other notes while I was in the bathroom earlier.
So
I do most of my best thinking.
Are you on subscribers only?
Only subscribers can
join
comment.
The chat? Oh.
Can join the chat, yeah.
So you don't get the bots.
So I don't get the bots and the trolls. If they want to talk smack, they got to subscribe first.
Hey Debbie, what's up? Juliana, good morning. Cheers.
Cheers. Coffee time.
Before we dive into this loaded topic.
Oh, yes. I want to say, Neil, this coffee is the bomb. I had to scale down. Like I put my normal amount in yesterday and almost couldn't drink it. So it will last a lot longer than anticipated. Shout
out to Neil and Julie. Bronson yesterday was like, oh my God, this bag of coffee. I said that was from Neil and Julie. That is right up his alley.
Woo, baby.
Strong, dark.
I did 2 scoops.
Just like
in this whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means
kicking my booty.
That is all you.
That's all me. It would be way too strong for you.
I'm back on my flavored coffees again. Because fall,
basic, nat.
Yes, that's when my basic comes out. And I have zero shame about it.
You were going to say, before we get started on this talk.
We should talk about Julian is asking what kind of flavored coffee? Or what kind of coffee is Bronson's dark
It's
stuff?
some local stuff to them.
It is. It's a local roaster in North Carolina.
Yeah. I don't remember the name.
It's Einstein's Dark is the name of this particular coffee.
That's what they're flavoring
the name of
the company, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not Einstein's coffee. That's a different thing.
Totally different, but that's good coffee too. The heck did I just say?
You were going to say, before we get started on this talk, but then I interrupted you.
Yeah, so we should talk about how we spent our day yesterday.
How did we spend our day yesterday?
We're moving again.
We're moving again. No, not really. We were managing the challenges that life throws at us.
It's an interesting way of putting it.
You want to tell the story?
Well, we've moved a lot for those of you who have been around.
The story starts 3 years ago when a boy met a girl. She lived in Georgia. He lived in Maryland.
They met in Vegas. Things did not stay in Vegas. So yeah, we moved a lot. That means, and then we combined our households. So that means there was lots of excess stuff to be stored places. Hey, you had quite a few things in there too, sir. We just happened to have
boxes.
We happen to have kept your furniture.
Right. All the furniture that's in there is yours.
Almost all the furniture.
All the heavy stuff in there is hers.
Right.
Yeah.
And he did all the heavy lifting.
Of course.
So all this to say, we have a storage unit. For anybody who's ever had a storage unit long term, more than the first year, the rent goes up worse than apartment rents go up. And they just
Every year.
gouge you year after year. And so once again,
It's
the
been
rent was going up.
like 3 years. You started at like what, one something,
Well, we
low
moved-
100s?
We moved this unit. I moved my unit from Georgia
It's
to
only been 2
Maryland.
years.
Right. But it's already gone up
Twice.
twice.
From low 100s to $300.
It would have been 300 this month.
Yeah.
It would have tripled my original rent.
Yeah.
So it was going up October 1st. We were like, all right, the plan to sell some things, I never got around to doing it. So now the fire's been lit, actually. So if anybody needs large pieces of furniture, holler at me. I'll be putting some stuff up on Facebook Marketplace.
If you want the couch that you're looking at right now,
that's right.
because we're going to get rid of this
one and bring my
she's
couch
got a
in.
sleeper sofa that we're going to bring in.
Yes. So we can have guests. Yeah, but huge entertainment center, dining room hutch, like massive, massive pieces. I had a condo that I furnished like a home, like a house. Yeah. And so I had some huge pieces of furniture. So we decided to game the system a little bit because...
Which is ridiculous.
We had to because of the way they do things.
It's unbelievably ridiculous.
If I wanted to transfer to a different unit, I would have to move out of the unit and wait for them to tell me it's okay to transfer.
Which would have been at least 30 days, if not more.
Was it that long? I thought it was like a couple days.
Was it just a couple days?
I don't know, but it was.
Oh,
you just had to wait. They didn't even give you a timeline, really.
Okay.
It was just
right.
You have to wait for them to basically tell you. So what? We'd have our stuff in a truck.
Right, have to rent a truck and put it in a truck until they say you can move back in. Or we could do what we did yesterday and literally pay $200 less per month
for new
me
unit.
To get a new unit that's the same size
around the corner
from her existing unit. The only thing that would have been different, that would have made it yesterday any more ridiculous, is if they'd have just said, here's a unit, it happens to be the same unit she's already in, now it's Bronson's.
Right.
That's essentially that is literally basic, that's what we did.
Yep. And we could have just not moved anything.
We could have just not moved anything.
Right. And the craziest part.
Instead of charging you $300 a month, we'll charge you $100 a month,
you should have been paying this entire time.
What?
And y'all should have seen the storage units yesterday.
Oh my God,
Everybody was there moving out because this is so ridiculous. Everybody's rent was going up on the first, clearly. And it was the first day that it wasn't pouring with the storms.
Because it's been raining for 2 weeks here.
So, yeah, it was packed. It was like, good luck even getting a
cart. We couldn't even get a cart the first time we got when we first showed up.
So yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous the way this industry works. But what we were reflecting on, and I'll be sharing some photos and videos in my stories today, and he's going to do a post on it, so you'll see some of the fun.
Some of the fun.
But this man was picking up couches by himself, like these massive pieces. It was just, I'm always very impressed and a little turned on by his strength. And
don't tell people that.
Like brute strength.
And laughing at me, I had to hunker down.
He had to hunch his shorts up to get him out of the way so he could squat down to pick things up. It was funny and fun and a lot of work.
And fun. That's the thing that we were talking towards the end. I was like, we really need to talk about the freedom that we have to do things like this, because there was no level, nowhere in anything that happened yesterday or leading up to yesterday was there a dread or anticipation or anxiety about how much this is going to hurt. I'm not going to be able to do this. What if we can't move that? What if we're stuck with this? It was literally just, all right, this is something we got to do. Let's go do it. And knowing that we had the physical ability to do it without having to ask for help, without having to pay extra money to hire movers.
Oh my gosh.
All of these different things. And the freedom to do that on top of the ability to enjoy the experience. That's the really cool thing about it. It was fun. It was not, oh my God, this sucks. We have to do this. This is stressful. It's anxious. None of that stuff. It's like, we had fun, like
even after
pushing the carts
there,
and I don't know. It was just, it was an enjoyable process.
Joke and have fun doing it. Even after getting there and having 2 hiccups.
A lot of hiccups with the size of the one they gave me first being too small, moving some stuff in, then realizing this isn't going to work, having to go back down, move stuff back out, go get a different one, move to a different floor, move all that stuff back over. Like,
oh my God.
It was like an hour of ridiculousness before we even got started.
Yeah, we could have been in a terrible mood. We could have been frustrated. We could have had to hire movers because we couldn't do it ourselves. You were even talking about, y'all, let me just tell you, and I'm going to post a picture of the Tetris skills of how much better we packed this new unit, which is like half
a foot.
It's half a foot smaller.
So it's not that much smaller, but.
And we did remove some things, some empty boxes and some, we got rid of some stuff. But it is packed so much better because the last time when we were moving into that unit, we paid an extra mover to help us do that, and there was a clock, right? It was like we were on the clock.
We were on the clock, and we only had one extra guy to help move some of the big stuff, and that was moving out of the apartments, right? So it's like, hey, we need help moving these giant pieces back and forth. We're moving this from one unit to another, putting it in the truck.
In one day.
We did it all. We did
2 guys were here moving the apartment while the other guy went with you to the storage.
Right, and then we ended up with one guy.
Yeah.
And it was literally like, okay, we are only paying for a certain amount of time. We need to get this guy done. Just get everything in there. And he was done because he'd been with us all freaking day. He's like, I want to get the hell out of here too.
Versus being able to take our time, think about where we wanted to put things.
Yeah, no rush.
You know, what do we want to put in the back? What do we want access to later? You know, all of that. And now it's packed the way we want it. There's space. You can see what's where.
Yeah, there's that stuff falling on your head when you open the door.
Oh gosh. Yeah. So it was an enjoyable experience. It was completely doable.
Yeah. It was time for us to hang out together and do stuff together. And total segue. The more chances you get to do something like this one-on-one with your significant other, the better it is for your relationship.
Or worse, and that tells you something.
That tells you something, right? And that's the thing. Doing these types of activities as a couple is a great way to gauge where the things are in your relationship that you need to work on or how well things are going. Because we had an example with another couple last night who were doing a task, a home project, and you could sense their tension.
Oh, it was palpable.
That comes from that. And there's something that needs to be addressed. If you can't work on a project together and feel good and enjoy the process together, something in your relationship needs to be worked on.
Absolutely.
So just something, total segue.
Yeah, no arguments. Yeah, and there were just those little moments of like being able to laugh in the midst of
the chaos. Yeah. So that's what we did yesterday.
All that.
So the importance of being physically capable plays a role, guys.
Over 50, over 40.
I'm 52 years old. There was never a question of, can we do this? That's the kind of freedom that we want you guys to have.
So, you ready for how I'm going to...
You guys, bring this in.
Segue
this in.
Are you ready for the magic of how I'm going to segue this?
How? I want to watch. I love
Did you count how many calories you burned in yesterday's workout?
No, I did not. In yesterday's activities?
Yes.
I have no idea. I never know how many calories I burn.
Me either.
Never. Do you know? Here's a question. How many of you raise your thumbs in the app? Do a thumbs up in the apps, whether Instagram or on YouTube, if you regularly keep track of your calorie burn or intake. I'm curious to know if anybody's doing that. Who's doing that? Because I know I don't. I
I don't look
I
at
never
my
look
burn.
at calories.
I never look at my burn. Of course, I'm tracking macros, which also shows me calories, and I see that every day. But we're going to talk about
We're going to talk about
a little bit later
when that may perhaps sometimes not very often apply. Okay.
Yep. So
All right.
yeah, we got some thumbs
We got
up
some thumbs up.
happening. Yep. Counting calories, either in or out, or trying to do both, which is really, what's the word I want to use?
Frustrating.
Frustrating.
Defeating.
Oh yeah, there's a good one. Defeating. Completely useless.
I love it. Yep.
Trying to manage them both. Especially the out part.
Especially the out part.
And
Or
we're
the
gonna-
in part. The in part is impossible to really track because it's not a thing.
Well, but the in part is, while calories are not a thing, we're going to get into the conceptual side.
Yeah.
So we can teach you all about the concept of calories and that it's a concept and a construct and it's not real. But then we're going to take it to the practical. So don't worry, hang with us. If you get lost on the conceptual side, stick with us. We're going to get to the practical. But while you may be able to count the calories in more easily with apps and looking at nutrition labels and things of that nature, at least you think you can, the out part is completely impossible to track.
Yeah.
Whether or not you think your wearables are accurate, which they're not. 100% they're not.
That's a whole, we didn't even talk about.
Yeah,
we didn't
even
add that
put
on the
in.
list.
But when we talk about following a calorie through the body, that'll
Yeah.
kind of address it a little bit.
That was a brilliant
You
thing
just-
last night. That was so freaking amazing.
I'm not going to say what I'm thinking about, what you were experiencing when I said that last night.
I had a tingle in my loins. When she says really smart, illuminating things, guys, woo, that's hot. That's hot. So, all right, where do you want to start? I'm going to let you run this because if I run this, I'm going to go down
You are. I'll keep
whole, keep me talking the way
track.
people can understand.
So bring up the notes because I sent them to you.
Okay, I added a couple to the top, but okay. Protein has calorie. Okay. Well, let's talk about first the construct. You said
Yes.
let's
Let's
explain
talk
the
about
construct.
what the construct and the fact that it's a construct, right?
And why the construct doesn't actually work. And this is what there
Yes.
is a little science here. Why the construct doesn't actually apply to the human body.
Essentially, a calorie is a thing.
It is a thing. It is a measurement. It's like an inch.
Yes, let's talk about first what a calorie is and that it is real in that context.
Right.
But it's the application of calories to human nutrition that is not
doesn't work.
real.
It's like the best analogy that I can think of, and I think I use this in the book, is calories are like miles per gallon.
Oh, okay.
Okay, if
Let's
I
talk
put
about
this
that.
gas in and then I drive however far, how far can I go with the gas that I put in my car? Right? I'm burning at a certain rate. So now
Right,
here's the thing.
Right.
If I put in 10 gallons of gas and my miles per gallon is 20 miles a gallon and her mileage is 50 miles a gallon, then how does the fact that we put the exact same gas in mean anything to our performance or our health?
Ooh. You
Right?
do like to use the gas versus
The car analogy is
the
so
car
beautiful
analogy a
because
lot.
it's a lot of the things line up in the way the human body, because it's not a one in and one out.
Right.
When you put things in a car, based on how the car is working, it's going to change your gas mileage. Based on based on your fuel system, based on the tune-ups that you got, your air filters, your injection,
That is a really
your fuel
good
injection,
analogy.
like how the last time you got your seals replaced or
But
your
the fuel is
timing
not
belt.
the only.
The fuel is not the only thing that matters.
Yes.
And so you could burn the fuel itself, and this is where the construct comes in. When you burn something, it creates a certain amount of heat. So if I have 90 octane gas and I burn it and it's this much calories or this much fuel, that is a constant. It doesn't ever change until it hits my car. Then it's utilized differently in my car than it's utilized in her car. So the calories of that fuel, the minute they hit the system they're being utilized by, guess what? How much it means to that system? Ding, zero. Absolutely nothing.
And what I would say when we get into some of the other stuff, the way a car is different than the human body is you could check how much gas you have at any given time throughout after filling up the tank and then the tank being empty. You cannot do that in the human body.
Right. No, not at all. There's no way to check it. It's like even within the human body, even in my car, is your car. Think about your car. Do you get different gas mileage if you're a city driver versus a highway driver?
So we're talking about environment now, yeah.
Right? So if I am a city driver, I'm probably going to use gas a lot faster than if I'm a highway driver. So it's the same gas, it's the same car, but how you use it changes how it actually utilizes that fuel.
I love that analogy.
Right?
Okay.
So this is why I get guys, I'm starting to get tinglies right now because this is why calories drive me absolutely effing crazy.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I understand the desire to have a way of calculating,
measuring, quantifying intake.
Right. And that's what we have. I was going to say calories are all we have to do that in terms of what they're trying to achieve, which is the fuel.
The fuel, right. The fuel piece.
Right. But we have much better ways of tracking nutrition, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Well, okay, what are you going to say? Because I want to tie one more thing in.
I was going to say, before we get to that, this construct of calories, so it's a thing outside the human body.
Yes, it is. That's a great way to put it. Calories are a thing outside the human body.
They are real.
Beautiful.
In that they came from people burning things in a calorimeter, a bomb calorimeter, to determine the amount of heat coming from that thing.
Right.
Food, for instance, right? And we were just talking about how we wanted to go down the rabbit hole of how
do they do that and equate it to,
did they determine how many calories per gram of macros? We probably could look that up and figure out how they
There's a lot of stuff.
out.
And I've looked it up before and it's very complicated and it does not, I still don't understand how anybody said, yeah, let's do it this way.
Yeah.
Guys, the lid on this coffee cup.
I'm going to get ice for my coffee.
Has calories.
Keep talking.
If I ate this, I would be getting air quotes calories, right? I could eat the freaking flowers on the table in front of me.
But you'd probably get very sick.
But I'd probably get very sick, regardless of the calories, right?
That has nothing to do with the calories.
So ridiculous. So when we talk about calories, I love how you said that. Calories are a thing outside the human body. That's freaking fantastic. You know what? We need to get a transcript of this, and we need to do like an ebook.
Okay.
Because this is amazing. This is going to be good.
Okay. So
go ahead.
So what happens to calories?
Right. So this is where I was going to go.
Yep.
So when we talk about calories are a thing outside the human body, what does that mean inside the human body? So when we talk about energy, you guys all know mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, right? And ATP is the energy currency of the human body, etc. And that is all absolutely true. Everything that we eat, when it comes to energy, gets boiled down and broken down and turned into ATP. ATP is the energy substrate that your body uses to do anything. So guess what ATP doesn't have?
Calories.
Doesn't have calories. There's no calorie for ATP. ATP is in and of itself the source of the energy, the potential energy. It's called an action potential that goes into the muscles filaments to actually make things move.
There's my nerdy man.
Okay, I'm trying to keep it.
There's my
I'm trying to
nerd.
keep it up here. So there is no such thing. I've had conversations where people are like, well, your body burns glycogen calories, or your body does this, your body does that. Guys, everything breaks down into something that then gets broken down into ATP. ATP is the endpoint.
It's the ultimate, right?
Okay.
Right.
So there is nothing. And I had a post about this a couple weeks ago that I said, name one metabolic pathway that we have in our body that requires calories. You can't. And this is going to segue into our next piece. Every metabolic pathway in our body, metabolic pathway meaning something in our neurology, our biology, or our physiology that does something. Okay?
So this is the actual function of the human body.
The function of the human body. Anything that our body has to perform in order to survive, there's not a single one that uses calories. They all use something that came from
foods,
protein, fat, or carbs, glucose. So if everything in our body comes from the actual things that we eat, or the substrates or components, physical things, I can hold protein, I can hold glucose, I can hold fat. You can't hold calories. They can't get turned into anything.
Right.
Right? So that goes into the statement you said last night that got me all hot and bothered, which was?
You cannot follow a calorie through the human body. You cannot strap a little camera, a microscopic camera to a calorie and watch it
go through the body.
Go through the system in and out. So this concept of energy in,
calories
energy out,
in, calories out.
in, calories out. It's a calorie isn't going to make it through the human body and out the other side. That's not how that works. So if you were to, and this is one of the ways that we wanted to illustrate this was take your macros, for example, right?
Which one? You want to do the amino acids?
I think the protein makes the most sense. Because this is where we get into what happens to a calorie once it gets into the human body, right?
Well, why is it something outside the body, but it's not something inside the body?
So because we assign these values of calories to the foods we eat, right?
And the minute we eat them, the whole concept of calories gets blown up.
Because inside the body, what happens to that food is it does not stay intact and move all the way through your system, except maybe a piece of corn.
Except maybe a piece of corn. But the idea when we talk about ATP being the end point, everything has to get broken down for that to happen. But here's the thing, and this is another aspect, not everything we eat gets turned into ATP. Some of the things we eat get turned into cell walls or neurons.
Muscle fibers.
Triglycerides getting broken down and being used to transport other fats, or enzymes and hormones, right? Skin tissue,
all the tissues,
nails,
all the structures
brain cells,
of the body.
All of our food gets turned into a million different other things, and none of them are all of the things of all of the things that the food we eat gets turned into. A small percentage of them are ATP. A large majority of the food we eat gets turned into another physical thing that has to be used for another type of function. It's not energy. The food we eat is not energy.
And it's certainly not all energy.
No, definitely not all. Some of it can be used to create energy, but the food itself inherently is not energy.
It's many things.
Think about that. The food we eat is not energy. Some of it can be used to create energy. That's a very, very different concept than what everybody out there is thinking about food. Food is not fuel.
So this is why he's always beating the drum. Calories do not equal nutrition.
Yep.
Right? Nutrition is so much more than the calorie value that you assign to a food you eat.
Right.
Look who joined. What up, Luis? Long time no see. Glad to have you
what's up,
here.
Luis?
So
I didn't know you were still around.
I see some of his stuff sometimes,
Yeah.
but it's in Spanish, and I need
I know, right? I can never.
I need to
We need to
learn.
learn Spanish just so we can. Yeah.
So let's see. The illustration we wanted to make was, for instance, protein.
I'd never thought about this until she said, again, she's hot, guys. Hot and smart. Y'all need to find you one.
Okay, y'all. So for
Enter in
anybody who has ever used a supplement called an EAA or a BCAA, EAA is essential amino acids. It's the 9 essential amino acids. I believe there are 22 total amino acids.
There's a lot.
BCAAs are the branched chain amino acids, which are 3 of the 9 essential. These are components of proteins.
You've heard the phrase complete protein, right? It's all of the things that we really need.
It has all the amino acids, right? So proteins are made up of amino acids. For example, of one of the things that happens when you eat food that has protein, it gets broken down into the constituent amino acids, and they go all over the body doing things, creating those tissues, other things that we talked about.
Yep.
So if you eat, I think the perfect way to illustrate this is protein powder.
Sure.
Right? Now you can apply this to anything, steak, real food, protein, but I love to make the example of a protein powder versus an amino acid powder. A protein powder, whether or not it has all of the amino acids and all of the optimal ranges.
Right. When you look at the ingredients list or you look at the
amino
nutrition
acid
facts,
breakdown, it'll show you the amino acid breakdown of your protein powders, or hopefully your protein powder does that. For example, we've talked about before the difference between a collagen or gelatin or beef protein isolate and a whey protein or an egg protein or a plant-based protein. They have different amino acid breakdowns or profiles. You could take that protein powder, it's going to tell you how many grams of protein it has in it, and it's going to have calories. It's going to list the number of calories. That is based on how many grams of protein and or if they add anything else, how many grams of carbs or fats are also in it.
But even in that, it's just, here's the protein, it will tell you that within the total.
Yep, and the nutrition label will have calories.
Right.
If you were to get an amino acid or branched chain amino acid supplement without anything else in it, just the amino acid powder, which I would not recommend, tastes horrible.
And it's not going to be good.
It's the reason why a lot of these companies will add sugar or flavorings or other things, because pure amino acids
by themselves are...
You can't get it down. Good luck. So, but if you were to buy a powder that's just amino acids, either all essential amino acids or just the 3 branched chain amino acids, it's not going to list protein grams and it's not going to list calories.
How's that work? If everything we eat has calories, then why does breaking a protein down into the amino acids then not have calories?
And how could you, or would you, or have they calculated how many calories are in an individual amino acid?
Right.
And the answer is no.
Here's the question. Well, here's the thing. Even if they have, how would the branched chain amino acids not have calories, but all of the other ones do? And what combination of them makes it so that the protein now has calories?
And if you were to purchase just one amino acid,
right,
and take that as a supplement, methionine or glutamine.
Let's say even leucine. That's the big one, right? Let's just say leucine. Let's take leucine.
Let's say you're trying to hit that leucine threshold to
I'm going to pop some leucine all day long. Is that now calorie free? You're not getting any calories? But leucine is the primary amino acid in all proteins. That's the muscle protein synthesis amino acid.
Right, but there's no calories assigned to that. Interesting. So when you consume protein and it gets broken down by the body into the constituent amino acids and they get used for things, this is one of the ways of illustrating or imagining that you cannot follow that calorie through the body.
Right.
It's getting broken down and it's being used for all sorts of processes.
Yep. that have nothing to do with energy. And when we talk about protein in general, the body doesn't want to use protein for energy
Oh boy,
at all.
that could be a whole separate. Well, that
Right?
should be a whole separate
Right.
conversation.
So just the idea that when we're talking about protein, effectively, protein doesn't have calories because protein isn't primarily
Fuel.
used for fuel.
But it still gets given.
But it still gets added. Here's another question. Here's another question. We're talking about protein.
Assignment.
Okay. How many of you guys have heard all the fitness pros and bodybuilders and athletes and everybody out there talking about you have to be in a surplus of energy in order to build muscle? And then in the exact same sentence or conversation, they will also say, but you can't build muscle without adequate protein. My question then is, which is it? How can it be both? I either need adequate protein to build muscle or I need excess fuel.
Usually they're saying you do need both.
You do need both. And that's what they're saying is, right, you need both. But why prioritize one over the other? And then how do you find that balance? This is an example of the convoluted processes we have to go through when we're looking at things from a caloric perspective. We're going to talk about, like she said, we're going to talk about how to look at this differently in the practical. But that's an example of one of the things that I think a lot of people get frustrated with and trying to understand, well, how am I supposed to focus on protein but also be in a caloric surplus? Because guess what? When you're focusing on protein, it's actually harder to get in a surplus because protein isn't that easy to eat a lot of, right? So then it forces you to look at other methods. Most people go to carbs because carbs are easier to eat. So now we're eating all of this stuff that isn't doing anything for you to actually help your health.
And I see people so afraid of going over their calories with protein.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, but I have to, but if I eat more protein, then I'll go over my calories and that's bad. That's going to put fat on my body. I think that's a whole discussion for another day.
We got a whole bunch of little side conversations we could have. So, okay, let me pull up my notes. We talked about calories are not anything inside the human body. Any questions about that, guys? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, this is where I feel like we lose people, but that's why we're getting to the practical stuff.
Okay, so now, I actually talked about that.
Surplus deficit, yep.
Okay, protein has calories, amino acids don't. I don't know if we're ready for that one yet. Let's do that one.
Fiber, calories,
because it's another thing. So this is another thing people get stuck on.
Oh boy,
thinking about the caloric intake of what we're eating and whether it counts or doesn't count. And there's a couple things to think about there. What we're essentially saying when she talks about can you follow a calorie through your system, which you can't, because the minute something gets in, it gets blown up into 18 million different places that you can't track. The foods that we eat that we classify as not having calories, okay,
which is such a new, it's a new concept.
It's a loophole because now it lets people eat whatever they want. And it's blah, 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 blah. I wonder why now. But at the same time, I'm wondering why I can't get where I want to go because I'm eating all this crap that your body still has to process, even if it doesn't get burned as fuel. Here's a question. Reality, here's the dissonance. Reality, protein isn't primarily used as fuel, but we give it calories. It gets used for a whole bunch of other things. Fiber is nothing but crap. And our body it actually increases stress and inflammation in the body. Our body can't use it, but we don't give it calories.
Well, we still do, but
a lot of people don't.
No.
The whole net carb crowd.
They give it calories. It has calories, but you get to negate those.
We get to negate those. And then some people are now saying that some fibers don't even need to report calories, though.
Oh, right, like allulose.
Right. Guys.
And this is all human constructs and decision-making processes, right?
Yes.
So like 30 years ago, the labels that you saw on food counted all calories.
Right.
From fiber or whatever. It all was listed. Now, all of a sudden, food companies are able to reduce the total calories of a food by the amount of fiber.
Right.
And this is where so many of you in the keto
Getting
space
stuck.
get screwed up by all these zero carb breads because they're just adding a crap ton of fiber and removing that from the carb count and the calorie count.
Here's
which is a whole other conversation we can have.
That's number 4. Here's the mindset shift. We said we weren't going to talk a lot about you dribbling. The mindset, the way to think about this, that will change everything about how you look at calories, nutrition, and what you're trying to do. Nothing that you put into your mouth has zero effect on your body.
Everything is impacting your body in some way, shape,
Zero
or form.
calories doesn't mean zero effect.
Ooh. I like that.
Okay? Everything that you eat does something. Your body has to respond whenever you put a stimulus into it. If that stimulus is not hormetic, meaning beneficial, positive, ending in a good result, then it is a de-stress. It is a stress that causes damage. That is where you're getting stuck. If you are doing everything that you're doing based on calories, you are likely eating things that are causing your body stress.
Oh my gosh. Can I just tell you how sick I get when I see bodybuilders post their sugar-free Jell-O desserts with that is
all
the most
all the
crappiest thing
food
you can put
dyes
in
and
your
all
body.
the other different stuff that they got in there. Yeah.
Oh, the crap that they put in those sugar-free Jell-Os and the dessert things.
Or even the things that are the high protein cookies and all these other things that they're just crap.
Yeah.
They're just crap. That gets into a whole nother issue.
They live for all the 0 calorie garbage that you can put in your body.
This is another thing, guys. This goes for real food too. It's not just the crap food. It's not just the processed food and the fake keto food and all the other things. It's for real food too. We're talking about nutrition. If you are eating nothing but freaking chicken because all you're worried about is getting your protein in and you want to keep your fat low to keep your overall caloric density low, stop. You are starving yourself.
You're not getting the nutrition.
You're not getting the nutrition that your body needs to survive. If you're doing a lot of lean stuff, if you're doing a lot of chicken, if you're trying to cut back on all these things,
white fish,
and all of that stuff in order to, I said this on a talk the other day, if a majority of your food consists of things that you make from egg whites, stop.
Shots fired.
Egg white is a source of protein. It is not a source of nutrition. If you're wondering why you are feeling like crap, if you're wondering why you can't do all the things that you want to do, you have no energy, your hormones are shot, you can't digest well, you're shitting all the time, you can't sleep, whatever it may be.
Or you're not shitting.
Or you're not shitting all the time. Go eat real food and stop eating
in its whole form.
Crap. If you want to eat egg whites, that's great. Eat an egg.
Right. And this is one of the things I say to my ladies all the time. I would rather you prioritize the egg yolk than any other form of fat.
Yes.
If you don't cut back there, don't stop eating real
That's where all the good
eggs.
Stuff is. Oh, that's where all the good stuff is.
Of all things, I would rather you get your fats from egg yolks than anywhere else.
Yep.
And probably at least one good fatty red meat a day. Or salmon is my other favorite.
Yes.
So like fatty fish, red meat, and egg yolks.
Yeah.
Stop cutting back on these to cut your calories. Cut the calories from the added heavy cream and butter and all that other added stuff.
There's only one place that I ever want anyone to cut your calories, and that is from your freaking life. Cut calories out of your brain. Stop thinking about them.
All right, so that's a good segue into the practical.
Was there anything else here that you couldn't follow through the body?
About that. I don't think we need to talk about that.
We don't need to talk about that, no.
So let's talk about the practical stuff.
Practical stuff. Okay.
A better way.
We're telling you not to use calories. We're telling you calories suck. They don't work. They're a pain in the butt. They make things more complicated. They set you off into the wrong path. Here's another mindset piece of calories. Most of the time, and this goes back to what I said before about food, everything you put in your mouth has an impact. Most of the time, the reasoning, the core thought process behind calories is focused on weight loss. We're trying to lose weight. So we think if we manage our fuel intake, we're going to lose weight. This discussion about why calories don't work is because calories being focused as a weight loss solution doesn't help you get healthier. This is a how do I improve my health conversation. In order to improve your health, you have to improve your nutrition, not your energy intake. It's a different conversation. The core concepts that we're working with here, the direction we're trying to get you to go and think is different.
Let's go back to the car analogy.
Yes.
What would this mean for the car analogy? It means you're not only thinking about filling the gas tank and never getting your car serviced.
Right.
Never changing the oil. Never having anybody look it over and make sure it's functioning the way that it should and discover what's wrong and what needs to be fixed. Never changing your wiper blades. Never
getting new tires.
Yeah.
Getting your brake pads replaced. Getting your timing belt done. Changing your oil. Guys, there's more to it. We're talking about health. We're not just talking about getting the best gas mileage possible. That's great. Although
focusing on all these other things
will help you get
better gas mileage.
Exactly.
So if you are 100%
big picture thing, right?
Focused on weight loss and that's all you care about, what we're about to talk about is going to help you reach that goal better than focusing on the fuel.
Just on the fuel. Right. I could write a whole book just on the car analogy.
You could.
For this entire thing. It all ties in.
Yep.
I mean, I do have a chapter, a section in the book that's all about this whole calorie conversation, and I use the car thing and talk about all that stuff, but I could probably do a whole book just on if I was a car.
I like that.
Or something like that, right? Okay.
So maybe men would actually buy that book.
Yeah, right?
Treat your body like you treat your car.
Yeah. Oh. You've got be your own CEO. I can be your own mechanic.
I love that.
Wow.
That's so awesome.
Okay.
So are we saying don't track your nutrition? You don't need to track your food intake.
How much you eat doesn't matter.
Don't track your food intake. No,
and that's where people get their
panties
in a twat is when we say, oh wait, that should have been panties in a wad. Oops.
That would be very uncomfortable.
When they get their panties all bunched up is when we say stop using calories, they equate that to you don't need to track how much you eat.
And that is not what we're saying at all.
That is not at all what we're talking about. We're saying, in fact, when you're tracking calories, you're not tracking what you eat.
Yeah.
You're not tracking the nutritional impact of the food that you're eating. And what you should be doing is actually tracking what you're eating.
Yeah. The nutrition component, not the fuel component.
Yes.
Yeah. And the fuel component will come with it when you're tracking the nutrition.
Because we're talking about adequate intake of nutrition. That's it. You don't know how much protein your body needs to function until you track how your body functions based on how much protein you're eating.
Now, what I should also say when we get into tracking nutrition is that macronutrients, which we're going to get into, that's what we're talking about. When we talk about tracking, the way you can track your food without focusing on the calories is the macros. Mm-hmm. However, macros are not everything either. Macros do not equal nutrition either. So just as we said, egg whites do not equal nutrition.
Chicken breast doesn't equal nutrition.
We're not saying you can't eat chicken or you can't eat egg whites. We're just saying don't make that the basis of what you're consuming.
Nutrition is macro and micronutrients. If you are not also including your micronutrient intake in the things that you're deciding to eat, you are missing the point.
And certain apps, we like to use Chronometer.
We'll tell you.
It's really great about having more information than just macros.
Mm-hmm.
If you're using other apps, I can't promise you that they're going to do that. I don't know about Carb Manager.
I don't know about MyFitnessPal doesn't do macros.
Well, I just know that their database is so dirty because
Yeah.
anybody can put anything in.
Yeah, who knows
that a
what you're
lot of
getting.
people are manipulating the system to actually have very inaccurate entries in there, and also not entries that don't include micronutrients. So we love Chronometer for that reason. That you can look at your micronutrient intake as well as the macronutrient intake to see, am I getting my B vitamins? Am I getting
Jonathan says.
enough magnesium? Am I, what? I track my electrolytes, including all of my food that I eat and the supplements that I take. I track it all, so I can look at my totals day to day and how they might be fluctuating, and I can better understand
How your body's responding.
Right.
Right. When you're tracking the actual thing that you're eating, not a construct that exists in the sky, you can say, my protein was this, and then I saw this. My fat was this, and then I saw this. My magnesium was this. For instance, I was pooping my butt off for a while there. Even after I resolved all of my bowel and IBS and urgent bowel issues, I had a period for a few months where I was like, what the hell is going on? I'm crapping all the time, and not in a fun way. Not that it's ever, although there are times where taking a dump is really satisfying. It was like I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I started looking at, okay, what am I actually doing? And I realized that I had increased my magnesium intake because I was trying to improve my sleep. And I thought at first it was coffee. So I stopped coffee. That didn't change anything. Then I thought it might have been protein powder and stevia because I was doing so much Element and whatever else. So I cut back on that. That didn't change it. So then I was like, okay, maybe it's a magnesium. So I stopped taking magnesium, and boom, extra magnesium was killing me. Because I realized with the amount of electrolytes that I drink, all of them had magnesium in them. So I was actually getting
more than you needed.
Twice the amount of magnesium I needed a day.
Yep.
Because I was already getting it in my electrolytes throughout the day. So if I wasn't keeping an eye on what my micronutrient intake was, my quality of life would have continued to be crap, because I would never have been able to figure out what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what this is about.
KM Kuhn, what is the app? Please link. So I think I have it in my bio where I have all of my links. But if not, you can DM me and I'll send you the link to Chronometer, or you can just Google it. It's CR, it's not CH.
Right, chrono without the H.
Yeah, CRO, Chronometer.
Yeah. So the practical solution to calories is literally track the food you're actually eating. Measure it in grams, right? Or ounces, whatever you want to do, but use an app. We like to use Chronometer that will tell you, if I have 8 ounces of steak, that means I'm getting this much protein, this much fat. So then I now know how much I'm eating in a meal. I add that up through the day. It will tell me at the end of the day, here's what I ate. And I can track where I'm at. And I can say, I'm eating on average 145 grams of fat a day and 120 grams of protein, or whatever it may be. And I can say, okay, at these actual numbers, how is my body responding? How is my energy? Am I losing fat? Am I gaining muscle? Am I getting stronger in the gym? How is my sleep? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you actually evaluate the results based on what you're doing, not estimating and trying to predict off a number that doesn't exist in your body.
And something key you just mentioned, you're not just tracking your weight on the scale and the calories. You're tracking the nutrition and your biofeedback. That's what we call biofeedback. Am I pooping?
Thank you, Jonathan.
Am I, what is my digestion like? My sleep, my energy throughout the day, my strength in the gym. You're looking at all of these biofeedback markers and not just the weight on the scale.
Yep.
And body composition.
Yeah.
Another key piece here is don't just look at your weight. You cannot deduce anything from only looking at your weight.
Nope. Weight is to your progress like calories is to your food.
Exactly.
it don't mean squat. It don't mean squat.
There's too many variables that go into that number on the scale for you to determine what's happening by only looking at the weight.
Absolutely. The number of people that I work with who ask me when they start working with me, so what do I do for my calories? The shock and disbelief when I say nothing, it's freaking hilarious. I love it. But it works every freaking time, guys. Because here's another aspect of it. When you start actually tracking the food, nutrition that you're eating, you now can educate yourself more about the impact of your choices.
On a micro level,
On a
day
much
to
better,
day,
more impactful level. Yeah.
and on a macro level, week to week, month to month, tracking your progress.
Yeah.
And understanding that will also take the fear of the scale away, which I talk about all the time. I don't want you to throw your scale away. I don't want you to stop weighing. I want you to stop being obsessed with the weight number.
Yep.
And the way that you do that is understanding what goes into that number and what impacts it and what's happening in your body, getting to know your body on a deeper level. Let's talk, there was something about the practical side. Oh, I wanted to talk about how, for those who work with me privately or in the academy, you may be like,
we didn't talk about that one too.
yes.
Yeah.
But also I'm going to start with this one.
Okay. Oh,
So,
this is a heads up tip to know.
and particularly for my ladies who might be like, wait a minute, you're saying not to look at calories, but you tell us to look at both calories and macros, right? And yes, I like you to understand the way that food is measured, right? So I want you to know what all those numbers supposedly mean, right? And how they're connected. So I want you to educate yourself on that. So that's where I teach you about the way that traditionally nutrition is calculated.
These calories.
Is macros having so many calories per gram. Now here's something that I've never taught that I think I should start including in my stuff. Is that,
The difference in, yeah.
do you know that what you're seeing on labels and what you're seeing, every single food you eat is not always going to be exactly 9 calories per gram of fat or 4 calories per gram.
9 and 4, the numbers that are assigned to each of the macronutrients are basically an average. They're not the same.
They're
So
not exact.
some forms of protein may be 3 or 4.2 or whatever
Some
it
forms of
is.
fat might be 9.1 or 8.7 or so you'll never actually know the exact accurate
Calorie.
calorie
Because
count.
remember, it's just a measure of heat. If I burn it, how
Outside
much
the
heat does
body,
it present?
right. So all that to say, where I see this sending people astray is when they're tracking everything and they can see, and Chronometer and every other app is going to show you calories and macros. And what I like to say to help you with the concept is if you focus on macros, the calories will come along with it. So you don't have to, worry about the calories or try to hit your calories. If you're trying to hit your macros,
Then
that's all you need to worry about. Because what is going to happen, and I see this all the time in Chronometer, and this is not something that worries me to the point where I'm like, oh no, let's find a different app to use because Chronometer is not accurate.
Well, but I don't think
now,
it's just Chronometer. I
no,
think
I
other
don't
apps
think it
do
is.
it.
I think
Other
all
do it,
apps probably do it. But what you might notice if you were a nerd about it and you took a food entry that you were putting into your nutrition tracking app and you calculated for yourself based on this equation of 9 calories per gram of fat, 4 calories per gram of protein, 4 calories per gram of carbs, and you took that steak and you did the calculations yourself and you looked at how many calories were in that steak and you looked at what the nutrition label and the tracking app tells you for calories, you will notice that those calories don't equal the calculation you did for the macros.
And a lot of times it's more.
And so at the end of the day, you might find that you stayed a little bit under your macros on everything by a few grams. because you're trying to, lose body fat. So you have macro
Or even if you
targets.
hit your macros right on the
Right. You have your macro targets. Maybe you hit them exactly or a couple grams under on everything. And then you look at the calories and you're like, it's saying that I'm over my calories by 200 calories. What did I do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. It's just that the calculations are not matching up.
Yep.
And that is not your problem to fix or worry about.
Hit your macros.
And this is why I don't want you obsessing over the calories. I just like you to look at both so that you kind of have an idea of how they work together.
Yeah. Yeah. And we didn't talk about this. I want to segue. We're going to take a step back. We just gave you the practical. As far as the key to tracking your nutrition is about actually tracking what you're eating and then keeping an eye on that and understanding what that means to how your body's responding. Taking a step back, that is the opposite, or that is contradictory. I don't know what the right word is here. A lot of people who are focused on calories, one of the methods that they do is they try to hit ratio goals.
Well, they try to set their macros based on the calories.
Based on the calories, right. So I'm setting my macros at 70-30 or 80-20, and then I have to try to match everything that I'm doing within that fixed space that doesn't mean anything to what your body actually needs. And here's what I want you to understand. If you're setting your macros, let's say you're tracking, I'm tracking my macros. I'm trying to get this much protein. I'm trying to get this much fat. So you're doing that part of it, but you're setting those numbers based on an arbitrary ratio that comes from calories. Your core foundational concept is flawed.
And every macro ratio you see out there is based on calories.
Right.
That's what you need to understand. The ratios are not based on actual grams of macros.
They're based on calories.
Based off the ratio is how many calories it represents. That's how they're determining.
So if your target is 2,000 calories, number one, you're starting off on the wrong foot already because you're basing your target off of a caloric intake, not on a nutrient intake. Okay?
It's a thumbs
down. So that's number one. Okay? If you're then setting a ratio that says, I'm going to get 2,000 calories a day and 80% of it's going to be fat and 20% of it's going to be protein, now you are setting a macro goal that may be more or less of either macro than your body actually needs. So I'm getting 80-20, I'm getting 80% of my calories from fat. Why can't I lose weight?
And
well, maybe that macro number that equates to should be lower for you to lose weight. Or the protein should be higher.
I was going to say, what really happens here is, where did you get the calories from, first off, right? Like, how did you determine then what calorie number pulled out of your ass? Exactly. So here's the thing is, if you're setting that, if that calorie number is not correct for you, you've totally screwed yourself.
Which I can tell you right now, automatically it's not.
It's not. It never is. Because these calculators that you're getting these starting calories from is a total guess based off of algorithms, based on general information that you fit into this population.
Right. Again, it's the octane of the fuel. They have no idea what the car is.
And it's one of the reasons why we always tell people that where you need to start when you are trying to set your own macros is start tracking your food now and weighing yourself and looking at your body composition and all the biofeedback markers. Start tracking everything so that when you make a change, you have something to go off of.
Yep. You can't be N equals 1 if you're taking all of your guidance from a calculator online.
Oh, it's huge.
You have to be the scientist for your own life. That means collecting data. Okay? Kat just asked, what are your thoughts on TDEE? Pointless. It doesn't matter because it's all based on calories.
It's arbitrary.
It's arbitrary.
It's completely arbitrary.
That is the equivalent of, are you driving in the city or are you driving on the highway?
You know what? I'll tell you.
It's the same thing.
One way that I use TDEE, and this is when I have a new client who's come to me and I'm gathering their data, which I ask them to, once again, track what you're already doing without changing anything, including your body composition. I look at all of that, and maybe they're only eating 1,100 calories based on what they're saying their food intake is.
That is a general idea that you can say this person's probably under eating.
Right.
But
now,
it doesn't tell you much other than that.
Right. And here's the thing. I already know that just by looking at the macros. I don't even have to know the calories, right? If I were to see that somebody's eating 75 grams of protein a day or 50 grams of protein a day and 75 grams of fat a day and 10 carbs, I already know they're not eating enough. I don't need the calories or a TDEE calculator to tell me that. But one way that I like to illustrate this for them, and I think this helps people, and this is why
everyone's so connected to it.
And this is why these constructs are created to try to help people understand in some way, shape, or form what's going on, right? And I think that this illustration, the TDEE illustration, can be mind-blowing for a lot of my ladies. When I tell them, hey, if I were to plug in all your data into a TDEE calculator, look what it tells me you should be eating based on calories, because it's not going to tell you based on macros. Right. Then I have to translate to them what that might look like in macros and in real food. But it might say that for your age, gender, physical activity level, body fat percentage, you should be eating 2,500 calories a day. And oh, look, you're eating less than half that. That helps my ladies understand, wow, I've really screwed something up by dieting all these years and not eating enough. Now I know I need to work on eating more. And so then that's what I like that for. Right. And then it's not about getting to that number of calories that you were told on the TDEE specifically.
So what happens there is the only times that we leverage the idea of calories and the things that come with that, TDEE, BMR, all those different things, is when we're trying to connect the actual nutrition to the current thought processes of the people that we're working with.
Yes.
It's helping them make the connection and bridge the gap between what they're used to thinking and how they think about it into what we're trying to transition them into.
Yes.
But it is not a basis for how we actually help people solve their problems.
And the last thing you want to do, which we see all the time, is, oh, okay, I've been eating 1,100 calories, and now I'm going to eat 2,500 because that's what it says I'm supposed to be doing.
Right. No, we say, what does that mean in the macros? And then we help them set their macros to what's something that's more appropriate.
And it won't be a doubling of your food intake. We're not going to be doing priming and teaching you that now you have to.
Oh, she's trying to get onto a whole nother thing.
Yeah, because you've undereaten for so long. We help you get there gradually. So it's really more about the concepts, understanding concepts and where you should be. Ratios we were talking about. There was something else.
Just the last thing on the ratios, guys. Here's what I want you to take away from the whole ratios idea: is if you're basing your nutrition, lifestyle plan, whatever, on ratios, you are automatically getting more nutrition, more macronutrients than you need on one side and less on the other side. Because you're tying the two together. You're using ratios eliminates your ability to turn the knob as needed for each one.
Yes. Yes.
Fat is its own thing. Protein is its own thing. You can turn them individually. One change does not mean you have to change the other one. And your body needs a different amount of each. And it's everybody's ratio, where they end up once they figure out what works, is going to be different.
If, for example...
And it's going to change. And you can't change it if you keep tying it together all the time.
If, for example, you've been under eating fat, and now, hey, ladies, your hair is falling. Well, this could also be protein.
It could also be protein, too. Yeah.
But your hair is falling out. You might have thyroid issues, energy issues, hormone issues is a huge one, skin, all the things that come along with that. You do not have to cut your protein to increase your fat.
Right.
You can just increase
the fat.
Your fat.
Leave your protein.
And you know why they do that? Because they're afraid of going over their calories.
Yep.
And that's the reason why we don't want you focusing on calories. drill down and turn the dials, turn the knobs to adjust one thing at a time. And when you're changing everything all at once, it's less, you're less able, you're less able to understand what could be actually
That's
going
another
on,
aspect,
right? You can't properly assess when you're changing everything.
Right.
So you don't want to be changing your protein and your fat together.
Right.
You want to adjust one thing and not drastically either.
Yeah,
You know,
we're
like
not
we
talking
always
about
say.
going from, 75 grams of fat a day to 120, right? Maybe you go to 85. See how you feel. Nothing happens. Okay, maybe you go to 90, 95. See what happens. Oh, I'm starting to feel better. I'm starting to see this. I'm starting to see that. Okay, I haven't gained any weight, but I'm feeling better. My hormones are, I have more energy, whatever it may be. Maybe I go to 105. I feel really good and I'm still not gaining weight. Oh, or gaining fat. It's small changes. Play with it, guys.
And this is a great comment from Allie. The TDEE, she says, my TDEE is around 1760. I eat 1900 by calories logic. I should be gaining body fat. I'm actually losing right now. This is another thing about the TDEE calculator. It can be very difficult to properly assess and select what your activity level is according to these calculators. So while your TDEE, she's saying, is around 1760, I don't know which activity multiplier you used to get to that. The truth is your actual TDEE, which y'all, it stands for total daily energy expenditure, which we already said, you cannot calculate
Can't
that.
calculate that.
There's no way to accurately calculate your calories out.
Yeah.
And this is the problem with a lot of these calculators. They're trying to give you an estimation of how much you're actually burning in a day. You will never know that. So this is why we say, track what you're doing, what you're eating, what your activity level is, and then assess it based on what you did on average that week. So for instance, I might have somebody tracking everything, and one week they're losing body fat, the next week they're stalled. 1 week is not a stall. A few days is not a stall.
4 weeks is not a stall. 6 weeks is not a stall.
Yeah, a stall doesn't happen on a micro level like that. But let's say you were losing and then you stopped losing 1 week to the next. If you look at, well, how active was I? Not how many calories did I burn based on my wearable. How active was I? And I like to use step count because it's something.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing a lot of flailing your arms in a day, you're going to have more activity on your watch. It may not even be steps. Somebody just asked about steps in my Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
But step counts are another arbitrary thing. But it's a way of understanding how active you are in your day. If you were to look last week and say, well, I ate the same thing this week, I don't understand why I'm not losing anymore. I bet you subconsciously you moved less last week.
Yeah.
It may not have been that you skipped a workout, but when you are in a caloric deficit, right? You're eating less is all that really means, right? You're eating less. You're not giving your body everything it needs, which, by the way, guys, if you want to lose body fat, if you want your body to be forced to take energy that it needs for its processes from your fat stores, you have to make it do that.
This is good.
I have to say, it's not comfortable. You're going to feel some things you don't want to feel. You might be tired. You might be hungrier. Because it shouldn't be easy.
Right.
It shouldn't be easy, y'all.
To eat less.
To eat less. Your body has gotten used to getting a certain amount of food on a regular basis.
And here's the rub of this whole conversation. And this is where people get fired up. We get called scammers. Is that when we say stop using calories, when we say don't use calories, again, I want to repeat this. We're not saying that intake doesn't matter. We're not saying that there isn't an impact of intake and activity that is going to affect body fat and body composition. There is, but it is about the nutrients and the macronutrients and the actual material that you're eating that is utilized in whatever percentage of the total intake for fuel. If If I am trying to lose body fat, then I need to decrease the fat that I eat in order to lose the body fat. Reducing my calories doesn't burn fat. How if I reduce my calories, does that translate somehow into fat? Something that doesn't exist, it's a measure of heat. But if I reduce my calories, now I'm losing body fat. There's no translation there that doesn't make sense. If I want my body to burn the fat off my body, then the exact equal object, material to material, is fat that I eat. So if I reduce the fat that I eat, my body says, oh, I need fat, not calories. I need fat.
Right.
Then I pull the fat off my body. So it's a one-to-one intake thing that we're talking about of the macronutrient specifically that we're reducing. So if you lose fat, you will lose body fat. It's not about calories. If I eat less protein, guess what? I will probably gain body fat. So how's that work if it's calories?
But it's all about calories and weight. So I see the scale going down, and that must be good.
Right, because I'm losing muscle, so that's not what we want.
What we see all the time, ladies that come to me who've lost weight on keto, low carb, were not eating enough protein. Eventually they stopped losing on the scale. They couldn't figure out why, and it's because they lost muscle mass, which also reduced their metabolic function, their metabolic rate.
There's a whole nother.
We can get into that.
That's five more
Another
talks.
topic. But they have now made their body less efficient at utilizing these things. They have reduced the metabolically active tissue of muscle. And now they can't even look at any food because they'll just gain.
Yep.
And it's because they have changed their body composition unfavorably. They have lost muscle, and now their body's having a very difficult time burning fat, losing fat, I should say.
And they're not doing the things to
body.
build muscle as well. It's not just the intake, it's the
Right.
activity as well. So
And where I was going with the activity level thing was, and with the TDEE, is if you have stalled and you're eating the same thing you were eating before, look at your activity level. Because when the body is starved for energy, which means you're not giving it the fat that it needs to keep the fat stores where they are and utilize the fat that you're ingesting as your energy, it slows you down. It makes you not want to move as much. The body's trying to survive, and it looks at eating less fat as a threat to its survival.
And there's a period of time where it has to get used to that.
Yeah.
Right? So
I like to tell my ladies it takes like a good 10 to 14 days,
Yeah.
a week and a half, 2 weeks, for your body to even recognize that you're eating less. So the concept I hear all the time is, oh my God, I cut my fats
And I feel like crap.
by 10 whole grams, and I'm exhausted and starving. I did that yesterday, and now today I'm starving. I'm like, that's all mental, baby. Your body hasn't even figured out that you're not giving it enough fat yet.
And it's only 10 grams. So even if it does, it's not like it's going to be that big.
Yeah, it really shouldn't. That's 100%. You're making it harder than it needs to be.
Yeah.
But what it will do when it does recognize, oh, we're not getting as much. Okay, slow down. So now you're less likely to get up from your desk and get water when you're thirsty. You're going to wait an extra hour until you have to get up to go to the bathroom anyway. It does it in these small ways. So you don't even realize that you're actually moving less. You're being less active. Instead of going and getting the laundry and swapping them out and all of that, you're just waiting until later to do it all at one time. And now, instead of getting up 3 times to go deal with the laundry, you're only doing it once. Or, oh, we have a package delivery. Well, you know what? I have a package delivery coming later today. I'll just wait until that one arrives, so I won't go to get the first package, right? But if it's these kinds of things that are like unconscious to you, you don't realize that you are actually choosing to move your body less. And so
Move your body.
things like that. It's not even necessarily in the gym or with cardio or any of that stuff. So, anything else?
I think we're good, guys.
Cover it all?
I think we covered it all.
Basically, look more deeply at your nutrition and your biofeedback to understand how your body is functioning and how things are impacting you. Don't just think about calories in, calories out, meaning scale, weight, and calories in your food. Do you get rid of the troll?
Yeah.
This is how we know we're successful, fam.
We start getting trolls, you know we're good. Remove. I wonder if you can block them too.
And yours was subscribers only, so he subscribed just so he could troll you.
Yep.
That's a lot of effort.
I know, right? Subscribed just so he could troll us. Hey, whatever. I love it. We're doing something good. All right, guys, that was one of our longer ones. And I am hot and sweaty. I need to turn the AC on and make some breakfast.
We should have done that before we started.
Thank you very much for listening, guys. If there's anything else that you want us to talk about, please let us know.
We had a comment that might trigger the next conversation about carbs.
About carbs, okay.
There are questions about carbs, and
what was that?
It was, I think, about carb cycling or eating carbs before a workout or glycogen. We can get into glycogen and glucose on the next one.
I will lose everybody if
No,
you
you
get me
won't.
on that.
Let's do it.
What's the question? What was the...
What would be the benefit of adding a certain amount of carbs post-workout, 1 hour weight training and 30 to 40 minutes cycling or 60 to 90 minutes cycling?
None.
Restore glycogen?
None.
Help hormonal balance?
None.
And then carbs being equipped clean carbs or fruit like berries?
None. None. Only if you want to, but it doesn't add any benefit to what your body can do by itself. That was the talk.
I still think it would be an interesting conversation to discuss on a future topic about what glycogen is, what glucose is, how it works in the body.
Science. Well, but we can't have that conversation without talking about like the science.
Of course.
Like that's
yes, okay. And why the carb community and carb cycling communities, even in low carb,
even in low carb,
even in carnivore, you got that going on. Why they do that, what they say the benefits are.
Because they're trying to justify their own preference for carbs. Okay, yes, we can talk about that. You want to talk about that next week?
Yes.
Carbs on a keto diet.
Yeah, there you go.
Do we need carbs? No, that's been done. What should we call that one? If we're going to have this conversation, what should we call it so we get everybody's attention and come talk about this?
Yeah, tell us your thoughts on what it should be.
What's a good head grabber, eye grabber caption, title?
Clickbait.
My back is all sweaty.
Give me clickbait.
Look at that. Ew.
I know, ew.
See you guys.